Yes guys, first of the year, we're back. We're going to be consistent now. Got a big life obstacle out of the way, which is moving into my first house with my partner. And that's going to be the subject of this video. Things to consider when moving house at a young age. I'm 25. Basically below 30, this will apply for. There's quite a few things to consider before moving house. One is the time it's going to take. We essentially were supposed to move in about 6 months ago, but the house sale fell through for various different reasons, and then we went to buy a second house. The survey came back messed up and we didn't go through with it, and then this house was chain free. We managed to move in kind of seamlessly. It was within 2 months of putting the offer and getting the offer accepted that we moved in. So I'm just going to break down different bits that you may not have considered before looking in or buying a house. So one of the main things to consider is the cost. The cost isn't easy. If you want to have a lot of equity, you're going to have to put down a decent deposit. Otherwise, your mortgage payments are going to be high. You might have to have a really long mortgage term, e.g. 30 to 40 years, and the interest payments are going to be very high along that way, and you end up paying double the price of what your house actually is worth. So that's just one thing to consider. I always think that if you're going to buy a house, you should try and get a decent loan transfer value where you have a fair bit of equity, the payments are manageable, and you don't have to have a crazy 30 to 40 year mortgage. That's the first thing I consider, and you need a fair bit of money for that. Just saying, you need a fair bit of money. You can't just go on with 5-10k and be like, yeah, you'll get a horrible interest rate, and you're gonna have to have a really long term in order for it to be affordable. The second point is there's a lot of hidden costs. So you think when you're buying a house, yeah, okay, put the deposit down, pay your mortgage advisor, get some legal advice with a solicitor for them to do legal work. There's a lot of hidden costs. So if you're buying a house over 300k as a first time buyer, you will have to pay stamp duty, even though it's a small bit. There's searches. So a search on a house for like a level 2 search would range between £300 to £500. There'd be a transfer deed, which would be like £100. There's various different fees along the way that you just have to look out for. And I think when we bought this house, we must have paid, including like legal advice, solicitor fees, and the mortgage advisor, it must have been like 2.5k just on fees for that. And that's not even actually buying the house, that's not even the deposit, that's not land registry. Land registry is another one. So yeah, there's quite a few things to consider cost wise. And then another thing, I think this is a really important point, and a lot of people don't consider this. They think, okay, let's just get a house, fuck it, 35-year mortgage, barely any deposit, 5% interest rate, which is fine. If you have to move out and do that, fine. But essentially, if you do that, you're going to be paying a lot of money each month, and you're going to put all your eggs in one basket basically. If all of your money is going into a house on a deposit, where are your investments and where's your emergency fund? For me, emergency fund 5 to 10k easily if you're moving out, and then you're going to need your investments. I didn't want to over leverage myself on this house. I wanted to have a good amount of investments that I knew would compound, and I know I can keep adding to them investments with the equity we've got in the house. And essentially I knew that this is short-term a liability, long-term it'll be a good asset, because obviously I'll have all the bills and all the different payments each month. But I knew as long as I had enough in my investment account and enough in my pension, and I can keep adding to that, I'll add to that every month without fail. I knew that I could make this budgeting work, and I knew that I could turn this into a good thing where I've got my own freedom of living in a house, but I'm not putting my goals aside. I'm going to keep investing heavily, getting close to maxing out my ISA every year. I'm still on track to do that every year, putting money aside, paying a lot into my pension, investing in crypto, buying all these dips. I'm going to keep doing that. And I think a lot of people, they're like, yeah, let's get the house, we'll get the house. And then they forget about the actual investments. Because, for example, if you look at since 2020, the S&P, roughly it's returned about 100% over them 5 to 6 years. House prices, if you're lucky and you bought in the right area, so maybe like London, the Midlands, I don't think houses up north have done as well, but you might have got like a 20 to 30% return over them years. I know house prices have gone up, but think about when you're selling, you have to pay the estate agent fees, you have to list your house. You probably have to pay some stamp duties for when you're moving into a different property. Whereas if your S&P is in the ISA, I know it hasn't performed well recently, but we're talking over a long horizon. So since 2020, you'll have 100% return. You won't have to pay any tax on that. That's a much better investment than buying a house. That's why I like, a lot of the time when people say, yeah, buying a house is a great investment, it can be, but a lot of the time it's not the best investment for a lot of people. For me, it was more, I know I've got the money in my investments, I'm set up, I know what my plan is, so I can buy this house and I can keep doing what I'm doing already, and I'll have the freedom, and then potentially in a few years time this house could rise. That's fine. It's not my main priority of this house growing in value. It'll beat inflation likely, but that's not the main thing anyway. Another point that I will say is, what was it again? Oh yeah, don't fall into the pressure of getting on a property ladder at a young age. I'm 25, I waited years. I probably could have bought a house 4 years ago. I would have been financially fucked if I did that. I wouldn't have had all that time to invest whilst living at home and paying a small amount of rent each month. So if you're young, even 27, 28, if you can stay at home and you're not ready to move out, don't move out. Don't fall into the pressure of society saying, oh yeah, you're a bum if you're still living with you. No, you're not. Like, everyone's circumstances are different. You just got to think what's right for you. That's the main thing that I'll say. And I think if you've got a large chunk of investments and you're not tying everything down to the house, maybe only like 30% of your assets going into the house, I think that's fine. You can buy a house. And of course, salary as well. You need multiple income streams. My main income is from a salary. My salary is all right. It helps pay the bills, you know, I can invest comfortably on it. But I'm looking to diversify my income streams. My main income streams are salary, crypto, and my investments. Crypto not recently, because I just released money on that, but long term, I'm sure it will return. And yeah, so I'm looking into different routes as well, doing some personal training, looking at some different side hustles and ways I can make money. A few of my friends are selling things on Vinted and making good money off that. And one of my friends as well, he's a barber, he's self-employed, and I really respect what he's doing. He started paying into a SIP per my advice. And yeah, but yeah, just in summary really guys, I think buying a house, you have to really think about it. You can't just jump in and be like, yeah, I've got 20 grand now, put it in a house, you've got nothing in your portfolio. Just think, weigh the options. Do you want the comfort of having a house, or do you want the potential to be like, yeah, I can put all of this investment into stocks, crypto, get a great return, and then maybe I can put a deposit down. Maybe I can buy a house at a later date. It's just something that I think a lot of people rush into. And I've thought about this, to be honest, since 2021. I was like, maybe in a couple of years I can buy a house. But I kept waiting and waiting, and until I knew the time was right, where I had the affordability and my partner had the affordability, and we knew with our budgets we could live comfortably and not have to worry about anything really. Maybe the house tax going up is a bit annoying, but it's not a big deal at the end of the day. We're living comfortable, and that wouldn't have been possible if we hadn't thought it through. We both prioritised heavy investments for the past few years. I've been investing since 2020, when the market was absolutely down in the dumps. But yeah, just a quick one from me anyway. If you've got any questions on moving house, you're planning on moving house, you want any tips or just any sort of, I don't know, you're not sure on certain things, I've been through the process nearly 3 times now, so I'll be happy to help in the comments. And yeah, it's just something to take away. Let me know what you think below. If you disagree, let me know. If you agree, great, cool, whatever. Yeah, I'm just happy to hear what you guys think. So until the next time, in a bit.